Hello and welcome. I'm Claire Feldman, your host and guide on this journey to thriving in private practice without the burnout. Are you a passionate therapist who's struggling with the entrepreneurial side of things? Do you wish you could serve great fit clients at times that suit you? Are you seeking financial stability so you can continue doing what you love? If so, then you're in the right place. My own journey started back in 2012 when I qualified as a CBT therapist. I've experienced the challenges of setting up a private practice, from accommodating clients at all hours to dealing with unclear policies and undercharging for my services. It was a tough road, but it led me to where I am today, a successful eating disorder practitioner who has learned not only to value my work, but also to connect with my dream clients. I know firsthand the difficulties of navigating the business aspects of therapy, from building a website to managing social media. But I've made the mistake so you don't have to. Together, we'll explore how you can build and grow your dream practice. So let's get started. Hello, and you are very, very welcome to my first ever episode of the Prosper in Private Practice podcast. And I am, let me tell you, equal measures really excited and also pretty terrified. I'm wondering, what on earth am I going to say? What on earth am I going to talk about? But good things don't happen inside your comfort zone, so I'm just going to push through this anxiety. I'm going to do my best. It's not going to be perfect in any way, shape or form, so just bear with me. You're listening to the grubby, messy first episode, and I'm sure things will become much more polished and much more professional, or not, as the episodes proceed. So a little bit about me. First of all, you might be wondering who on earth I am. My name is Claire. I am a 45-year-old mum. I come from a town called Bangor in Northern Ireland. I've got two beautiful boys that are now, I can't believe, 13 and 16. And a wonderful supportive husband called Peter. Currently, I work part-time in my private practice, which is called Etology, where I specialise in working with women who struggle with binge eating. And the other part of the week, the end of the week, I offer mentoring services to counsellors and therapists who are just struggling to get the private practice off the ground, or struggling kind of defining their niche, feeling a bit lost, letting imposter syndrome get in the way. And so I offer mentoring and support to them. And very recently, I opened my brand new monthly membership called the Prosper in Private Practice Hub, which is a wonderful little community for people who are relatively new to private practice. And every month there's basically loads of support and training around all the essential things we need to know about building and growing a private practice. There's loads of training, guest experts, Q&A calls, so real hands-on kind of support there for people that want maybe more long-term support in a more cost-effective way. So that's what I'm doing currently. How did I get into this? So perhaps if we rewind maybe a little bit, I've been qualified now, I've been practicing for around 11 years. My kind of core modality, if you like, is CBT. And I did a postgrad diploma in CBT, which I thoroughly loved and enjoyed. I think the reason why I ended up doing that was actually prior to that I'd been working in personnel. I was an HR manager. I'd been doing that for 10 years. My background was actually business, so my journey into counselling and therapy probably maybe wasn't the traditional, in quote, kind of route that many take. But I just knew after 10 years in HR that this wasn't for me, that I knew I was kind of destined for more. In my childhood, I had a mother that for a lot of my childhood had been suffered from depression. So I think I always had some, wanting to understand, wanting to know more. And just had a real interest then in psychology and in mental health. Felt like a total and utter imposter when I was doing my postgrad, because like most of the people in the room probably had psychology degrees and I didn't. So I struggled through that, not because I wasn't capable or that I was struggling with the content so much. I was struggling more with my own self-doubt. And that's something like with complete and utter transparency, it's improved. My confidence has grown, but it definitely hasn't gone away, and my imposter syndrome will show up quite regularly, actually. Who am I trying to kid? It will show up quite regularly, like for now, for example, when I'm doing a podcast. But I think that's important, just to be real and to be authentic with who I am. I struggle with my confidence at times, but I don't let it stop me. I'm stubborn like that. That I'm still very determined that when I want to do something, when I want to achieve something, I just kind of push through it. But I think it's also important to be real with you and to let you know that these are things that I can have difficulties with at time. I think it would be completely disingenuine for me to show up and to be cocky, making false promises, and I can't stand. And that's why I think so many counsellors and therapists have a real adverse reaction when we even just say the word marketing. I think we have a real kind of gut kind of reaction to it, because we have this feeling of it being like pushy sales tactics and false promises, and people promising you that you're going to have your practice filled overnight, or you're going to earn 6 figures in your practice, and all of that stuff can feel really icky and really uncomfortable. And for me, I think it's important to be completely authentic and genuine, not make false promises, but absolutely give you the faith and the hope that whatever it is that you desire in your private practice is something that is absolutely possible for you. But often the thing that gets in the way is either that we just have a lack of understanding, a lack of knowledge around marketing and what authentic marketing looks like, and also that we can get in our own way. And as counselors and therapists, I know that many of you guys probably will, if you admit that you struggle with your confidence, you struggle a little bit maybe with imposter syndrome, you worry a bit too much about what other people might say about what you're doing. You maybe don't want to admit certain things, like you desire more, that you want more money, or you want to charge a higher fee, because it brings up all sorts of feelings of ethical dilemmas. Is it wrong for me to charge more for what I'm doing, or should I be charging for helping people? And these are all the sorts of questions and conversations that are going to come up, and that we're going to talk about loads throughout our time together and over more of the podcast episodes. So I don't want to go off. I went off already in a bit of a tangent. Apologies, I probably will do that. So yeah, about 11 years ago, I did the CBT postgrad, really enjoyed it, struggled with the confidence, but got through it. And once I had qualified from there, I had a wonderful supervisor who really helped me get my foot in the door in a few places. So anytime there was extra funding going in GP surgeries, or she knew of spaces coming up in GP surgeries, she would recommend me. And so I built up a lot of my hours, a lot of my experience in GP surgeries, eventually worked in like local community organisations, worked for a few EAPs. So a lot of the things that most people, when they're kind of newly qualified, will do is kind of looking at a variety of different sources of income streams, which is, it's a great idea to do. To have that variety. But I think, so I did that for around 8 years, was kind of spending one day kind of commuting to one part of Belfast and another day commuting somewhere else. And as much as I loved the experience, was fantastic for me, I think I probably got to a point where, and really COVID, had a big impact on this, where I think like I wasn't necessarily working with clients that I felt completely aligned with, that I was working in organizations that basically the referrals just came through, and you just worked with whatever referrals were put to you. And of course I had some wonderful clients that I loved working with, but I also had clients that I didn't enjoy working with, or that I felt I really struggled with, because they wouldn't be a client that would normally be attracted to me in private practice. So I kind of felt that actually, is there a way for me to do more, to achieve more, to have some stability, but kind of do it on my own terms, rather than having to be kind of at the mercy of other organisations, their rates of pay. Some of the places I worked in, the level of admin was just ridiculous. And the expectations that there were around you in terms of number of clients you would see, hours you would work, the amount of admin you would do that was unpaid. And I just kind of thought, not loving this anymore. And then COVID happened. And obviously COVID was a horrendous time for many people. For me, it kind of felt like a great big reset, actually. All the places that I worked, I worked in community organisations, I worked in GP surgeries during that time, and all the clients ordinarily I would have commuted to go and see were then now still working with me, but virtually. And that kind of planted the little seed in my mind of, well, if I can work with these clients virtually, surely I can find my own clients virtually and do that. And that's what kind of started the ball rolling into my private practice. I'd quite recently been qualified in eating disorders as a practitioner. It was an area that I'd always had a real interest and passion in. And so I decided that this was the area that I was going to focus on. I was going to focus around disordered eating. And so set up my private practice, created a website, and started to kind of slowly but surely attract clients in. And probably from 2018, when I first set up Etology, I've had just the biggest amount of learning, because we're not taught this. We're not taught when we're doing our training. We're not taught how to market your private practice. You're not taught how to get your face and your name out there. There's so much fear around counsellors and therapists about being visible, about even showing their picture on their social media, about talking on camera for fear of how they might be judged or crossing boundaries. There's just so much fear and taboo around it, which I think there just doesn't need to be. But because we're not taught it, what we then might do, and certainly what I kind of felt at the beginning, was that I'm failing, that I'm not good enough, that I can't do this. Like, why are the clients like literally not beating my door down to come and work with me? And the simple answer was they just didn't even know I existed, because things like popping a directory profile up, or things like creating a website, as lovely as they might be, that if you're not engaging in any strategy or any activities that drive people to these places, then you're gonna struggle. And I think now that there are so many qualified professionals out there, that the private practice market is so saturated, that probably now more than ever is a time when we do have to learn these additional skills. Like, whether we like it or not, I think we have to learn these additional skills, get comfortable finding a way of marketing ourselves that feels authentic and true to us, but that is also showcasing yourself, your personality, your practice in as positive a light as possible, so that you can attract more of your ideal clients to you. And so from 2018, I did loads of courses around marketing. I did some courses with a fabulous lady called Lisa Johnson, who's like a business coach and strategist. And just learned an awful lot about how to actually connect with your ideal client. And when you've connected with that ideal client, how do you bring them on a journey and want to work with you. And I think that that's so important, that not everybody who comes to your website, not everybody that comes to your Instagram or comes to you direct to your profile necessarily wants to work with you in that moment. They might be in a contemplation stage, but they might want to work with you in 6 months' time, or they might want to work with you in a year's time. But you might want to build that connection and nurture that kind of relationship with them. So that 6 months down the line or a year down the line, that you're still kind of in the forefront of their mind around who they might want to work with. So I think the biggest things that I learned over the last few years is actually it's so important for me to really know who my ideal client is, know what their difficulties and their pain points are, and most importantly, learn how to connect with them, learn how to write content, post on social media, write blogs, write emails, just write in a way that speaks to the difficulties that they have, and to be able to give them understanding of how I might be able to help them. And that's essentially what marketing is. And it's something that we can do in a very natural and authentic way that doesn't need to feel forced and doesn't need to feel icky. And that's really what the purpose of this podcast is, that I want to be able to have these conversations with you, even though it's me talking to myself, but to have these conversations, and hopefully that you get little light bulb moments or little moments of inspiration, or that you start to think about things in a different way, and in particular get more comfortable with the idea of marketing yourself, get more comfortable with the idea of being visible, and get more comfortable with the idea that you can find a way that feels okay with you. You don't necessarily have to love it to begin with. Not everybody's going to love getting on video, for example, or not everybody's going to love recording a podcast, but you can find ways to do things that you can be comfortable enough with in the beginning, and then grow in confidence the more you practice it and the more that you engage it. And that's what I'm hoping that you're going to get from this podcast. So I think I have maybe blathered on enough today. It was lovely to be here today, to talk to you, to introduce myself, to tell you a little bit about me. And I hope that you're going to tune in again, because there's going to be lots more hints, tips, strategies, things for you to think about, things to reflect on, to help you implement in your own private practice. But that's it for now, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.